Hi, my name is Max. I attended Dr. Joe's 7-day advanced retreat this May, just gone, and also last year, 2018, in October on the Sunshine Coast, Australia. As a huge bonus for me, I had the opportunity to have coherence healing for a vascular necrosis. This is a condition I had in both hip joints. This condition occurs when blood supply is disrupted or lost to the hips due to injury, steroid treatment, hereditary traits, wear and tear. Medically, I would be a combination of all of those. The joints deteriorate and die and collapse quite rapidly when it's quite advanced. I was diagnosed with this condition over 10 years ago and told the only option for treatment was full hip replacements and that I would need them within a year. I had been to a few meditation retreats in my 20s and had some experiences that, although were transitory and only lasted a week or so, were so intense and powerful I felt almost superhuman. And I knew these states would help me avoid surgery, especially when diagnosed. I was under 40 and not willing to have such an invasive procedure. I had a book that I'd read called Quantum Healing, and it was written in the 80s by Deepak Chopra, and it was really cutting edge at the time. And this book talked about how you could affect your physiology by accessing peak states. So I got back to work meditating, trying to access these states. I struggled to go as deep as I had in my 20s, where I had phenomenal experiences. I went to see my doctor, a surgeon, and we had x-rays, did another MRI, and he couldn't actually believe that there was no more deterioration in the joints. He said I was a freak of nature, and the joints were on the verge of collapsing. He couldn't understand why the condition hadn't progressed. So I must have had some big impact on that. I can't quantify that. I just will never really know. But I just kept this up. I've still got my hips, 10, 11 years later, 12 years later. And this really brings me to the Coherence Healing on Sunshine Coast. I'd had a Coherence Healing in October last year, and although I did benefit from that, and it did help reduce pain, but nowhere near as significantly as I had done this May. The Coherence Healing itself was a deeply moving experience. I had these really powerful emotions that were almost overwhelming. I don't know, like grace and love. And this realization and deep knowing, the intelligence that was just flowing through. I don't know, it's just so hard to explain. And I felt just a shift then. I just felt a big shift in my condition. Not so much flexibility, but just a massive reduction in pain, which is constant, and you just put up with it on a daily basis. And it's probably like at least 50%, which means it's just totally tolerable. I was considering after this event just to get, as I'm now older, to get full flexibility and just get back to being more active as I used to be previously, before I had this condition in my 30s. I was very active, still playing a lot of competitive sports, and I was considering really the next step, just to really get back to that sort of level that I want to be at, is to have hip replacements, but that's just sort of out the window at the moment. I'm just staying with this, and I'm convinced that this is totally reversible. So just stay tuned. It's massively better, and I'm really at times overwhelmed with gratitude